The night the hospital lights flickered above him, Ethan Carter realized that sometimes love doesn't mean holding on, sometimes it means letting go forever. His hands trembled as he stood in the silent hallway, a decision crushing his chest so heavily it felt like he couldn't breathe. Outside, the cold Chicago wind howled against the windows, but inside him, a storm far worse was raging. He wasn't just choosing between dreams, he was choosing between hearts. If you believe in kindness, sacrifice, and second chances, take a moment right now to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Stories like this deserve to be felt, not just heard. Ethan had never planned for life to turn out this way. At just 26, he carried responsibilities that would have broken most men. After losing his father in a construction accident and his stepmother to illness shortly after, he became the only pillar holding his fragile family together. His two younger stepbrothers, Noah and Lucas, were still in school, their dreams untouched by the harsh reality Ethan faced every single day. To them, he wasn't just a brother. He was a provider, a guardian, and in many ways, a silent hero. Every morning in their small apartment on the outskirts of Chicago, Ethan woke before sunrise, quietly preparing breakfast before heading to his construction job. His hands, rough and scarred, told stories of sacrifice that words never could. He skipped meals, worked double shifts, and often returned home too exhausted to speak, yet he never once let his brothers feel the weight he carried. He made sure their school fees were paid, their books were bought, and their dreams remained alive. But behind that strength, Ethan had a secret, a small, beautiful piece of happiness he never spoke about much. Her name was Ava Mitchell. She was the one person who saw through his silence, who understood the storms behind his calm eyes. Ava worked at a local clinic, and their love had grown quietly over the years, built on stolen moments and unspoken promises. She believed in him, in his goodness, and often reminded him that he deserved happiness too. Yet, life doesn't always reward the ones who give the most. One evening, as Ethan returned home, he found Noah sitting on the couch with tears in his eyes. The school had sent a notice. Tuition fees were overdue, and without payment, Noah wouldn't be allowed to continue his semester. Lucas, too, had been selected for a prestigious science program, but it required funds they simply didn't have. The walls of that tiny apartment suddenly felt like they were closing in. Ethan didn't panic. He never did. Instead, he quietly nodded, reassured them with a faint smile, and promised everything would be okay. But that night, as he sat alone, reality hit him harder than ever before. His savings were gone. His job barely covered rent and groceries. And the future his brothers dreamed of was slipping away. It was then that he made a decision that would change everything. Ava had been offered a job opportunity in California, a chance to build a better life, a fresh start. She had asked Ethan to come with her, to finally choose himself for once. It was a chance for love, for peace, for a life he had silently dreamed of but never dared to chase. But Ethan knew something Ava didn't. He knew he couldn't go. The next few days were the hardest of his life. He took on extra shifts, sold his few personal belongings, and even borrowed money he knew he'd struggle to repay. Still, it wasn't enough. The numbers didn't add up, and time was running out. Then came the moment that shattered him. Ava sat across from him in a quiet cafe, her eyes filled with hope, waiting for his answer. She spoke about their future, about the life they could build together, about finally leaving behind the struggles that had defined his past. For a brief moment, Ethan allowed himself to imagine it. A life where he wasn't constantly worried, where love wasn't overshadowed by sacrifice. But reality returned like a cruel reminder. He looked at her, memorizing every detail of her face, knowing this would be the last time he'd see her like this. And with a heavy heart, he told her he couldn't go. He told her he had responsibilities, that his brothers needed him, that he couldn't abandon them. Not now, not ever. Ava's eyes filled with tears, not out of anger, but out of understanding. She knew the kind of man Ethan was. She knew this choice wasn't about love fading. It was about love being too strong to be selfish. Yet, knowing didn't make it hurt any less. That day, Ethan didn't just lose a relationship. He let go of his only chance at happiness. Time moved on, as it always does. Months turned into years. Ethan continued working tirelessly, ensuring Noah graduated with honors, and Lucas pursued his dream in science. Their success became his silent victory. They never fully understood the extent of what he had sacrificed, but they knew one thing. Everything they had was because of him. Ethan, however, remained in the same cycle. The same job, the same apartment, the same quiet life. His dreams had long been buried under responsibilities. The laughter that once filled his heart had been replaced with a calm acceptance of what life had become. But life has a way of surprising even the most broken souls. Years later, on a rainy afternoon, Ethan found himself standing outside a medical conference center in New York. Lucas had invited him, proud to introduce his brother as the man behind his success. Ethan stood there, slightly out of place, watching people walk by in suits and confident strides. And then, he saw her. Ava. She stood across the hall, older, wiser, yet still carrying the same warmth in her eyes. Time seemed to freeze as their worlds collided once again. In that moment, everything Ethan had buried came rushing back. The love, the memories, the pain. She approached him slowly, her eyes filled with emotions words couldn't express. Neither of them spoke immediately. They didn't need to. Some connections are too deep for words. Eventually, Ava smiled softly, a tear slipping down her cheek. She told him she had built a life, achieved everything she once dreamed of, but a part of her had always remained incomplete. She never forgot him, not the man who taught her what true love really meant. Ethan listened quietly, his heart both full and heavy. He didn't regret his choices. He couldn't. His brothers were living the lives he fought for. But standing there, he realized something. Sometimes sacrifice gives others a future, but it leaves behind a quiet emptiness in the one who sacrifices. Before the story ends, I want you to do something special. Comment below with one word that describes what you think true love really means. Ava reached for his hand, not to hold on, but to acknowledge what they once had. It was a moment of closure, of understanding, of silent gratitude. They both knew life had taken them on different paths, paths that couldn't be changed. As she walked away, Ethan didn't stop her. Because this time, he understood something deeply. Love doesn't always mean staying together. Sometimes, love is about choosing others over yourself, even if it costs you everything. If this story touched your heart, if you felt even a fraction of Ethan's pain and strength, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support keeps these stories alive. Ethan walked out into the rain that day, not as a man who lost everything, but as someone who gave everything. And in that quiet sacrifice, he found a different kind of peace, the kind that doesn't come from having it all, but from knowing you gave your all. And sometimes, that is the purest form of love.